welcome to this week's Q&A with Stephanie. So today's question for the week is, how can I train myself to touch my toes without having to bend my knees? And that is a totally valid and awesome question. A lot of students, when they first step into yoga, really want to hit that milestone of being able to touch their toes. So how do we go about achieving that milestone? Well, before I jump into a couple stretches that I want to share with you, I want to share with you first the idea of letting go of any external accomplishments and achievements within the body. So yoga is a journey. It's about meeting yourself where you're at today. So much of life, especially in the Western world, we're constantly striving to be better, to improve ourselves, to do this and that, and hit this achievement and get that promotion. Yoga dismisses all of that. And by that account, yoga asanas as well is truly about meeting your body where you're at today and letting go of trying to achieve all this external stuff. It's about tuning within and just finding your way back to your heart. So please, before you proceed with this video, find some compassion with yourself. Love your body for what it does today. That's the best thing you can possibly do to working towards anything, if I even dare say that. All right, so let's jump a little bit into some postures if you are going to explore possibly working into the backs of the legs. So to start, I do want to mention as well, these postures are something maybe that you can tack onto end of a yoga flow or anything else. I found with my experience, especially opening up the backs of the legs or any type of part of your body, that just showing up regularly to yoga will allow all of that to unfold for you. So rather than being stringent with yourself and be like, I gotta do these 3 stretches 3 times a day and I'll get to my goal, like just showing up and doing yoga is going to get you to a more open, easy body. So with that being said, if you do want a couple of stretches that will help open up the backs of the legs, I got those for you right here. So the first stretch, obviously, we're going to practice folding forward. So generally, the reason that we can't touch our toes, again, there's no right or wrong with touching your toes. It just is the body right now. There's no goal, and it's okay if you never do touch your toes. But the first thing that generally we need to open up are the backs of the legs. That's usually what's tight on people. The second thing, once we start to open up the backs of the legs, is usually the low back. So to start, if you want to begin to work towards, let's say, opening up the backs of the legs rather than touching the toes, you'll start by simply pressing the knees towards the mat and pulling the toes back towards you. So when you do that, flexing the toes, you should feel the legs begin to work. All right? So from there, on an inhale, you'll want to sit up nice and tall. On an exhale, you'll begin to pivot from the hips, bringing your torso forward. Now you'll stop at the point where you can't go any further without rounding your upper spine. So my legs are super engaged right now, and maybe all you can go forward is just right here, and that is so perfect. Love yourself for where you're at right now in your journey. Maybe you breathe here for a couple breaths. Now what I see a lot in classes and students in my classes is that, again, they have this mindset that they need to touch their toes, so they instantly, if they can only go that far, begin to be like, well, my arms are long, I can reach. They'll begin to reach like that, and notice how much my upper back is curving. That's a big no-no for this posture. We want to work into the backs of the legs rather than stretch the upper back, right? So I want you to think bringing your chest or your rib cage towards the thighs more so than touching the toes with the fingertips, all right? Because this is what's going to give you that stretch you're looking for to open up the backs of the legs over time, all right? So you pause here for a couple big breaths, and if you feel anything mid-back or higher, just know you've gone too far. Okay, another awesome stretch that I absolutely love is Janu Shirshasana. So similar concept with the legs, except one foot's coming in towards you. The inside edge or the outside edge of your foot is in alignment with the inside edge of the thigh. Again, you stay engaged, so knee presses down, toes pull back towards. If it feels like too much on your knee, you can always put support like a block or a pillow under that left knee. Once you're here, center of the chest is going to turn and point, so just a slight pivot towards the big toe. You'll sit up nice and tall on an inhale, and on an exhale, again, you'll walk down, drawing the heart forward the whole time, and maybe you even get to a point after your exhale, you lift up and try to extend the spine even further. So notice how long my back is. I'm not reaching like that. We don't want to do that here. So again, we're opening up the backs of the legs. Also, both shoulders are parallel with the mat. You might feel a nice stretch in the low back region as well. This posture is awesome for hitting all those kind of points for opening up to eventually reaching for the forward fold. All right, last posture, which is a good, amazing prep pose for so many different postures, is downward facing dog or good old down dog. So to get into down dog, you'll come into hands and knees, tabletop position. Curl the toes under, inhale, lift those knees up, and then exhale, press it on back. And you might be like, okay, Stephanie, cool, but my heels don't touch the ground. And again, that's okay. We're not in these postures to achieve anything. We're here to meet our bodies where they are at today. So same thing, if you watch my body on the screen, I'm going to demonstrate something for you. So usually, if you can't get the heels towards the ground, again, that's because we're working on opening up the backs of the legs. Not that you need to. Excuse that point that I was almost about to make. And then from here, because the legs are tight, we begin to, when we try to press the heels down, we find that rounding in the upper back again because of the lack of space in the backs of the legs. So our way to work around that, because we don't want to compromise the upper body, is to lift the heels, bend the knees, and just like we were thinking of that concept, bring rib cage to thighs, do the same thing here. Look at all that length that I just received in my upper body. Now, once you feel like your weight is more towards the legs and the feet than the hands, then maybe you slowly, and it might just be a quarter of an inch, if that, begin to work the heels towards the mat, keeping your hips and booty in the same exact position that they are in. All right, so notice, like, I'll try to demo what I see in class, is that when people begin to drop their heels too much, again, the weight comes forward, it comes to more like a plank-like position, looks something like that, and it's a lot of pressure on the wrist. So we bend the knees, press our weight on back, and over time, as we're still working the heels towards the ground, even though they're not touching, and if they never touch, that's okay, the legs will begin to open up, pressing the knees back, slowly, those heels make their way down. All right, so you can work on those postures. Again, the goal is to not round the upper back, is to keep it nice as long as much as you can, and know that it's the consistency, it's the showing up over time that will help you to open up the body. It's not about achieving the posture, it's about the journey. So ask yourself before you proceed with this, why do I want to touch my toes? Is it because I want to look like I fit in the yoga class? Who knows what it is? But ask yourself and become aware, and maybe you'll find that touching the toes isn't necessary because yoga just brings you to your center no matter your body shape, size, or ability. So I hope this gives you maybe something that you can work on, maybe something a little bit eye-opening about trying to achieve things within yoga, and just know that with time all will come. I wish you the best week, and I'll see you next week. Namaste.